Just think of the ant and the grasshopper story. So we are going to be the ant in this story. Hey friends, welcome back to Acre Homestead. My name is Becky. If you're new, I want to welcome you to my kitchen. If you're returning, I greatly appreciate that, and I want to welcome you back. Today we're going to be talking about why should we be bulk buying and trying to fill our pantries and freezers, and the how about that. I think the why is important. I think it's important to know why, what motivates us, why are we doing something, but the how is also the practical part, because if we don't know how to do something, then we're not going to get very far. Today is going to be chatty. We're just going to sit down and we're going to have a conversation together. So if you need to do the dishes, do the laundry, cook dinner, you're more than welcome. We are just going to be chatting. I will show some things that we're going to be talking about, but for the most part, it's just going to be us just having a conversation about this. The number one reason why I got into buying in bulk was so that I wouldn't run out of ingredients. Just that's a practical reason. I can't stand being in the middle of a recipe and running out of a specific ingredient like butter, oil, flour, whatever it might be. It drives me crazy. So that's why I started buying in bigger quantities so that I could have those pantry staples on hand. The second reason why I do it now is because I realized how much money it can save me. By having a stocked pantry and freezer, what that does is it allows me to extend my trips between the grocery store. I now go about a month between grocery shopping, and I definitely can tell that the less I'm in the grocery store, the less I spend in the grocery store. Those impulse buys can kill the grocery budget, and I am guilty of it because things just fall into your cart. And so I really work hard on trying to stay away from the grocery store. By having a stocked pantry, I can do that. Another way it saves me money is I can buy in bigger quantities, and typically when you buy in a bigger quantity, say a 25-pound bag of flour as opposed to a 5-pound bag of flour, you're saving the company who's producing that product on packaging. And a lot of times what you're spending at the grocery store can be on packaging. When the company doesn't have to spend that much on packaging, they can pass that savings on to the consumer. It also saves me money because when I find something on sale, I don't just buy one, I buy multiple. I found a deal on organic milk. It was $1.99 last year, and I bought 11 gallons. There's only 2 of us that live in this house, and I generally only try to buy organic when at all possible. It's not 100%, but if I see a price like that, I am going to snatch it up, because right now with inflation, it's about $5.99 a gallon for organic milk in my area. So milk freezes beautifully. I throw it in the freezer, and I now have milk for, we don't go through a lot of milk, so that's probably, I think I still have 1 gallon or 2 gallons in the freezer from that sale. So that's a way it can save me money, is when I find a sale, I snatch it up. Another way it can save money is you are inflation proofing your grocery prices. Just like what I said before, but that was a sale. But right now, inflation is a serious concern. Everything is going up. And I just did a video on buying before inflation, what you can buy now that hasn't quite gotten touched by the inflation bug yet. That was part 1 in this series, so I can link that down below. But if you buy bulk now, you're paying that price, you're locking in that price for tomorrow. The second reason why I buy in bulk is because I can get better quality ingredients for a better price. This kind of goes into number 1, but I generally only try to buy organic whenever possible. That's one of the other reasons why I started, is because I wanted these higher quality ingredients, but I couldn't afford to pay those premium prices at the grocery store for smaller bags of the same thing I could buy in a 50-pound bag or a 25-pound bag. I also get better ingredients because I'm buying in season when at all possible. Now, things like pantry staples aren't necessarily seasonal. Obviously, they have a growing season, but it doesn't matter if you buy them in season, like buying a tomato from a farmer in your local area. I can buy farm fresh produce, meat from local ranchers when possible, and I can try to get those bulk prices on those fresh ingredients, and I can come home, I can preserve them at the height of freshness, and I can put them away in my pantry and in my freezer, and I can have the highest quality produce possible. The third reason why I do this is because it helps the environment. When you're buying in bulk and buying from local farmers and ranchers in your area when things are in season, that's less of things that have to be shipped all over the country, all over the world in order to get to your house. I can buy a 50-pound bag of flour at one time. It took only that one truck trip to get to where it needed to be, and then it's in my house for a long time, as opposed to buying a ton of 5-pound bags of flour. And then another reason, going back to the packaging, is if I buy a 50-pound bag or a 25-pound bag of beans in a paper bag, because typically that's how they come, then I'm not buying 50 small little bags of beans at Walmart or my local grocery store in a plastic bag. So I'm helping the environment by reducing those single-use plastics. The fifth reason, and this kind of, I think sometimes, people ask, or not, they don't ask, but if you buy in bulk, you can kind of get the stigmatized of being a prepper, a doomsday prepper, and that is not at all why I do what I do. But I do want to have a stock pantry to be prepared for emergencies, whether those are personal emergencies, job loss, injury, a reason why we can't make an income, Josh or I. If we lose some income, then we have food in our pantry and in our freezer as insurance. This is food insurance, just like you'd have medical insurance, homeowners insurance, auto insurance, and you'd have money in the bank so that in case something happens to your car, you could get your car fixed. I want to have food in my pantry in order to have some food insurance for those times, because they are inevitable. What I'm trying to do is stock my pantry with the best price, the best quality food I can, so that in case I can't go to the grocery store, I have food on hand. I just finished a 2-month pantry challenge where I did not go to the grocery store for 2 months, and I documented every dinner that we did. I can link that series down in the description box if you're interested in that. And that was very eye-opening on what I did well in my stock pantry in case we had to go 2 months without going to the grocery store, and what holes I needed to fill. And it taught me that I can go. So there's security in knowing that I could go 2 months without going to the grocery store. I learned that I could actually probably go 4 months without going to the grocery store. By that time, it would have probably gotten a little bit old. I don't want to go 4 months without going to the grocery store, but I know that in case I can't, or I can't afford it or something, then I am set. Those are personal reasons why you might want to be prepared, but there are external reasons why. There's a lot of craziness going on in the world with increases in prices, inflation, just so many external circumstances that it doesn't hurt to try to keep your house prepared in order for those areas. It doesn't have to be labeled as being crazy or anything. Just think of the ant and the grasshopper story. So we are going to be the ant in this story. So the final reason why I think it is important to be prepared, and then we'll get into the how of how to be prepared, is so that you can be a blessing to others. I didn't realize that this could happen in my lifetime until it happened, and that was in March of 2020. There was no flour to be had in March of 2020 in my area for about 2 weeks. And my brother-in-law wanted to make my sister-in-law a birthday cake. And he could not find flour, and he could not find cocoa powder. Well, I had both. And I was more than willing to share my flour and cocoa powder with them, and so that he could make my sister-in-law a birthday cake. Now, that shortage did not last for more than a couple weeks, and flour was available back, but I was more than willing to share what I had with my friends and with my family. And it all just comes full circle, because at one point I ran out of toilet paper and there was no toilet paper to be had. I was not personally prepared in that area, and my sister-in-law shared some toilet paper with me. So it's just a way of, if we have a little bit of excess and we know someone's in need, then we can share our abundance and be a blessing to others. And I think that's super important. So now let's get into the nitty-gritty of how we should go about stocking our pantries, because I think this is kind of the fun part. This is the part where we get to see the fruits of our labor. We get to see our pantry stockpile growing, and then we can start using it and we can start working out of it. And it's super, super exciting to see that happen. This does not happen overnight, so don't be discouraged if you can't go out and buy a year's worth of groceries right now. That's not realistic for 99% of the population, if not more. This did not happen for me overnight. This took time. This took time and patience in order to build up a stocked pantry. I probably have about 1.5 years worth of staples in my house between my freezers and my pantry, and that probably took me about 7 years to get to that point. So don't be discouraged if you can't go out and just buy everything you want in order to have a stock pantry. These are the foundations that if you have the knowledge, then you can start working toward that goal. If you don't have the knowledge, then how can you work toward that goal? So I am no expert necessarily when it comes to this. I am passionate about it. But one book that really helped me in this area on how to stock a pantry was the book A Year Without a Grocery Store. And I can link that book along with a free Audible trial where you can listen to the book for free if you'd like, down in the description box. That book was pretty game changer to me. And so I think that if you want an even more in-depth look at this topic, then that is a great resource for you. So how? So let's get into it. So the number one thing you should do is look in your freezers, look in your refrigerator, look in your pantry, and see what you already buy. That is what you should be stocking up on. Just because someone has beans and rice in their pantry and you haven't made beans and rice in 2, 3, 4 years, you've never made it, don't buy it. You won't eat it. It's a waste of money. It's going to sit there and it's not going to be used. And in the case of an actual emergency and you're already stressed because of a job loss, then the last thing you want to do is start having to eat something that you don't like. And so look in your pantry, look in your freezer, and see what you already have, and that's what you should be stocking up on. So number 2 is let's start collecting food grade containers. So I can link all the containers that I like to use. I've got quite a few and we're going to talk through them. So if you're interested in them, they will be linked down in the description box. So the first thing that is my favorite container for bulk food storage is a 6-gallon bucket with a Gamma Seal lid. The Gamma Seal lid is honestly what is the game changer here. If you're like me and you're constantly rotating through your pantry storage, my pantry storage is not something that just sits and is idle for years and years until I wait for an emergency. This is food that we eat all the time and we're constantly rotating through it. So if you use the lids that come with the 5-gallon buckets, they're the white lids, then you need a mallet to put them on and you need a crowbar to take them off every time. And I get into my buckets all the time and that is super inconvenient. I just invested in some bigger food grade buckets, which I don't have yet, but I'm going to start putting my flour, oat, and oats in them, and they are technically a dog food container, but they're BPA free, and they also have a Gamma lid that is stackable. The next thing I like to use are glass 1-gallon containers. These are things that I like to use that I'm not getting into every single day because my measuring cups don't fit in them. So I use my chocolate chips, my greens that I dehydrate and freeze dry over the summer. The containers that I get into every single day are these large food grade containers that have a snap top lid that are airtight. I use these for anything like flour, oats, sugars, and these containers have a very wide mouth. So I can get a 1 cup or even my 2 cup measuring scoop in it without having to wrestle around the neck of a glass 1-gallon jar. So I love these containers. They have been one of my favorite investments I have made for my kitchen. I also use a lot of mason jars. I store dried goods, I store freeze-dried goods, I store canned goods, things that I have home canned and all of that sort of thing. The third thing, and this is probably one of the most important things, maybe we should have started with this, I don't know, but is where to buy bulk food from. This can be overwhelming. It can seem maybe obvious or not obvious, I don't know, but we need to know where to buy bulk food from. I think for pantry staples and produce, those are probably going to be, or meat and dairy, those might be different areas depending on what type of food we're talking about. So for me personally, where I buy the majority of my bulk dry goods from, my spices, my sugars, my oats, my flours and things are from Azure Standard. You've seen a bunch of Azure Standard hauls if you have been around here for any length of time. I do not typically buy my meat from them. I have bought some chickens when I found them, some pasture-raised chickens on sale, but that's not typically where I buy my meat from. Where I personally buy my meat from are typically from ranchers, from local ranchers in my area. I'll buy a half a cow, a whole hog, and that is where I like to fill my freezers with meat that way. One way, if you are new to maybe buying in bulk your meat, the website called localharvest.org or Facebook Marketplace, those are great resources to try to find local meat producers or ranchers in your area. I also do use ButcherBox typically for my chicken. I personally cannot afford pasture-raised chicken In my area, it is just too expensive for my budget. And so I've been buying my organic chicken from Butcher Box. A couple other areas that are good to be buying in bulk from are Amazon. Amazon does a subscribe and save. And so you can get on different subscriptions and buy different bulk items. I have bought, especially during the pandemic, I bought quite a few things from Amazon that I filled my pantry with. And so that's another resource. Another resource is Costco and Sam's Club. I do have a Costco membership and I shop there quite a bit. So where I typically buy my bulk produce from is at farmers markets in the spring, summer, and fall. When things are at their height of ripeness and they're coming in like crazy, you can get the best deals for them. You can buy from local farmers what are called seconds. So say they have some beautiful slicing tomatoes that they're gonna sell, in these beautiful baskets at the farmer's market for the premium price because they're absolutely stunning. They also have tomatoes that might have a blemish on them. They're too big, they're too small, they're too wrinkly, whatever it might be. They're perfectly fine to eat, but they're not something that they want to display as their best quality product. And you can buy that as what is called a second, and you can get a discount price on that. The best resource to find local farmers market in your area is, again, that website, localharvest.org. That website, you just type in your zip code and it will bring up every farm, every U-pick, every farmer's market, and even every food event in your area. So if you're interested in things like farm to table dinners, wine tastings, any type of food event in your local community, it's going to be listed on localharvest.org. Josh and I are into kind of going to those fun food events. So it's definitely a fun resource, and I'll link them down in the description box for you as well. The fifth thing I'm going to talk about is learning to preserve food. And this is a huge topic. It goes into a ton of things, but learning how to freeze produce, can produce, freeze dry, food dehydrate, what you can do if you have those skills, if you find, whether it's at a grocery store, if it's a friend that's getting rid of something, if it's at the farmer's market, if you find a good deal on produce or meat or whatever it might be, some sort of food item, you have the skills to take that thing home, preserve it so that you can use it. That is a huge conversation, bigger than this video. So if you want to start diving into the world of food preservation, I have playlists on canning, playlists on freeze drying. I can leave those playlists down in the description box if that is something you're interested in starting to learn to do. But you can save yourself a ton of money if you have those skills when you find those good deals. This is a huge conversation. We are just getting started. This is episode 2 of this series. If you have suggestions, things I missed, because I know I missed things, then please leave them down in the comment section so that we can learn together. We can start a conversation down there. I'm excited about this series. If you missed episode 1, what are the 12 most essential pantry staple items to have in your pantry? I'll leave that video right here so you can go enjoy that. If you want to see the playlist of where I go 2 months without going to the grocery store, I filmed every dinner, I'll leave that playlist right here for you so you can go enjoy that. I want to say a huge thank you to you for spending time with me. This is not about fear mongering. This is just about being prepared. This is about learning how to be prepared for whatever life throws at us, because life is going to throw us a curveball. It's inevitable. It's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. And if we are prepared for those things, then they're not going to be as big of a deal. They're not going to be as big of a curveball because we are going to be prepared to navigate whatever the situation might be. Thank you again for taking time out of your day. I hope you found value in this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you know anybody that could find value in this, please share this video with them. Let's start this conversation. Let's get this movement going. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, guys.